The noise of the modern world versus the power of silence in today's world. Human life has become a constant race, filled with endless voices, noises, arguments, and distractions. The streets are filled with traffic sounds, workplaces echo with continuous conversations, and our personal lives are dominated by the constant buzzing of mobile notifications, television broadcasts, and social media updates. This overwhelming noise not only surrounds us physically but also penetrates our minds and hearts, leaving little room for peace and reflection. In such a chaotic environment, silence stands out as one of the most powerful and priceless treasures. Silence is not just the absence of words. It is a profound state of presence, calmness, and strength. It has the ability to heal, to balance, and to bring harmony to life's flow. When we allow ourselves moments of silence, we reconnect with our inner selves, understand our emotions better, and align our actions with wisdom rather than impulse. Silence has been valued across cultures, religions, and philosophies for centuries. Ancient spiritual traditions considered silence as a form of meditation, a path to divine connection. Great leaders and thinkers have relied on silence as a tool for strategy, reflection, and wisdom. Modern science confirms that silence reduces stress, improves mental health, and even enhances creativity. Thus, silence is not a weakness or emptiness. It is a force that flows through every part of existence. It calms storms within us, smooths relationships, strengthens intellect, and empowers us to face challenges. Truly, the power of silence makes everything flow. The spiritual dimension of silence. Silence has always been considered a doorway to spirituality. Long before the rise of modern psychology or scientific studies, saints, sages, and prophets across different cultures recognized the transformative power of silence. They understood that silence is not simply a lack of sound, but a state of inner stillness that connects the human soul to something greater than itself. Silence in Islam and Sufism. In Islam, silence is considered an act of wisdom and a reflection of strong faith. The Prophet Muhammad advised his followers, "Whoever believes in Allah and the last day should speak what is good, or remain silent." This guidance shows that silence is not merely the absence of speech but a spiritual discipline that protects the soul from sin and strengthens one's connection with God. Sufi mystics also placed great emphasis on silence. For them, silence was a form of worship, a way of listening to the whispers of the heart and the signs of the divine. They believed that in silence, the soul could hear what words could never express. Sufi poets often compared silence to the ocean, deep, vast, and full of hidden treasures. By being silent, one could dive deep into this ocean and discover the pearls of wisdom. Silence in Christianity and monastic traditions. In Christianity, silence has been central to monastic life. Monks and nuns often take vows of silence, believing that by limiting speech they open a direct channel to God. Silence is viewed as prayer in itself, a language through which the soul speaks to the Creator. Christian mystics like Saint John of the Cross and Saint Teresa of Avila emphasized the value of silence in achieving spiritual union with God. Silence in Hinduism and Buddhism. In Hinduism, silence, known as mauna, is considered an essential spiritual practice. Great sages would often retreat into the forests and mountains to practice silence for years, seeking self-realization and divine wisdom. Hindu texts teach that words create bondage, while silence leads to liberation. Similarly, in Buddhism, silence is one of the highest forms of practice. The Buddha himself taught that silence nurtures mindfulness and self-awareness. Buddhist monks practice long periods of noble silence, which helps them detach from distractions and cultivate inner peace. The famous Zen tradition also treasures silence, where the sound of silence itself becomes a form of meditation. Silence as a universal spiritual language. All these traditions, one truth remains constant: silence brings human beings closer to the divine. While words may divide people, silence unites hearts. While speech can often lead to misunderstanding, silence carries a universal language that every soul can comprehend. It is in silence that the human spirit feels the presence of God, the universe, or the eternal truth. Thus, silence is not simply a pause in conversation, it is a profound spiritual practice that nourishes the soul, cleanses the heart, and strengthens faith. The psychological and emotional benefits of silence. While spirituality views silence as a path to the divine, psychology regards it as a vital tool for emotional balance and mental well-being. In today's world of constant noise, both external and internal, silence becomes not just desirable but necessary for mental health. Silence as mental detox. Our brains are bombarded with endless streams of information, from social media updates to workplace demands, from family conversations to environmental noise. This information overload often leads to stress, anxiety, and even burnout. Silence acts as a detox for the mind. Just as the body needs rest to repair itself, the brain needs silence to process, reset, and regain clarity. Studies have shown that even a few minutes of silence daily can significantly reduce stress hormones like cortisol. It allows the nervous system to relax and creates a sense of balance between the body and mind. Silence and emotional regulation. Emotions are powerful, but often, they overwhelm us when expressed impulsively. Many regrets in life come from words spoken in anger, frustration, or haste. Silence provides a buffer between stimulus and response. It allows us to pause, reflect, and choose how to react, rather than being driven by raw emotion. This pause creates emotional intelligence, the ability to manage one's emotions wisely and respond to others with empathy. For example, during an argument, silence can calm the situation, prevent escalation, and give both parties time to think clearly. In this way, silence becomes a tool of emotional mastery. Silence and self-reflection. One of the greatest psychological gifts of silence is self. In silence, we become aware of our thoughts, desires, and fears. It allows us to observe ourselves without judgment. Self-reflection helps us discover our true values and align our actions accordingly. Great thinkers like Socrates and Rumi emphasized the importance of reflection in silence. Without it, humans remain disconnected from their inner selves and live reactively rather than intentionally. Silence and creativity. Another remarkable benefit of silence is its connection to creativity. The most brilliant ideas often emerge not in moments of noise but in moments of quiet. Writers, poets, inventors, and artists frequently speak of how solitude and silence fuel their creativity. When the mind is free from constant distractions, it can wander, imagine, and innovate. That is why practices like meditation and mindfulness are now widely used in creative industries. They open the door to new perspectives and fresh insights. Silence as healing for anxiety and depression. Psychology also recognizes silence as a healing force against anxiety and depression. A quiet environment calms the racing mind, reduces overthinking, and restores balance to emotional states. Silent practices like deep breathing, mindfulness, and meditation are now recommended by therapists worldwide. In silence, people often discover not only relief from mental suffering but also a deeper sense of meaning and purpose in life. The scientific and health benefits of silence. Silence is not just a spiritual or psychological concept, it has measurable effects on the human body. Modern science has begun to uncover how silence impacts brain function, physical health, and overall well-being. What philosophers and saints taught centuries ago, today's neuroscientists and medical researchers are proving with data. Silence and the brain. One of the most fascinating discoveries is how silence affects the brain's growth and repair mechanisms. A study conducted in 2013 by researchers at Duke University found that 2 hours of silence daily led to the growth of new cells in the hippocampus, the part of the brain associated with memory, learning, and emotions. This suggests that silence doesn't just relax the brain, it can actually help regenerate it. Moreover, silence allows the brain to enter a default mode network, a state where it processes past experiences, organizes thoughts, and forms creative connections. In this state, the mind is more capable of problem-solving and innovation. Silence and stress reduction. Noise pollution is now considered a major health hazard. Constant exposure to loud sounds, traffic, construction, electronic devices triggers the release of stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones, if chronically elevated, lead to hypertension, insomnia, and weakened immunity. Silence, on the other hand, lowers stress hormone levels. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and digest mode, leading to slower heart rate, deeper breathing, and relaxed muscles. Even short breaks of silence during the day can bring noticeable calm and mental clarity. Silence and cardiovascular health. Scientific studies also link silence to better heart health. Prolonged exposure to noise has been shown to increase the risk of heart disease, while spending time in silence helps regulate blood pressure and stabilize heart rhythms. In fact, a study published in the journal Heart showed that people living in quieter environments had healthier cardiovascular systems compared to those in noisy cities. Silence literally gives the heart a break, allowing it to function more smoothly. Silence and Sleep Qualities, Leap DS.